Hey folks, welcome to Helen Roscoe Yoga on YouTube. I hope you're well. In this short practice today, we're going to explore some seated postures. So what I recommend you do is that you take one of my limbering or warming up practices before you come to this, just so that you can feel a little more kind of open and prepared along your hips and your legs, also your back as well. And then in terms of props, I have a slim block and a blanket over the top, but you might like to just practice on a blanket, or you might prefer to not have any props at all. So just see how that goes. So raising the hips, it just means that the angle of the hip flex is a little more open, so we're not quite into that 90-degree angle. You might find you have a little more space then to be in a neutral spine. So I'd like you to have your legs out in front of you. Just let your hands rest onto your laps for a moment. And often when it comes to seated poses, when we have tight hamstrings, maybe back, shoulder stiffness, it always gets in the way. So I always find it useful just to pause and rest into shape before we change shape. And just wait for those legs to relax a little. Bring your hands alongside you or behind you and connecting to your breath. As you breathe out, I'd like you to press into your hands and lift up through the crown of your head, and then breathe in and soften the hands, but try to keep the lift through the crown of your head. On the exhale, press into the hands. You might notice your knees responding, your heels responding, your spine responding. Finding that feeling of connection to the earth deepens. Maybe there's a sense of letting go into the earth and then releasing away as you breathe in. Take that a few more times at your own pace. Keep the chin lightly drawn in towards your throat, so the back of your neck is long. Really inviting those legs to release. Okay, I'd like you to bend your right leg, and you could tuck it under your left. If it doesn't comfortably reach the floor on the right side, place the blanket underneath. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to invite you to have a little micro bend in your left leg. Just let your foot be relaxed for a moment. And walk your hands forward so that you're in about a halfway forward fold. And have your chin slightly drawn in so that the back of your neck is long. So your hands might be on your fingertips, or you might be able to bring your hands flat onto the ground. And I'd like you to breathe here. So notice the rise and fall of the breath. Notice what happens as you breathe in and what happens as you breathe out, without trying to change the shape. It's like the breath is bobbing you up and down. So you're trying to maintain a neutral spine. You're just observing the breath rising and falling into the shoulder blades, the tummy, the crown of your head. And then exhaling, it bobs you down. And then the next time that you exhale, just go with the downward motion of the breath bobbing down. And as you inhale, lift up with the rise of the bobbing breath up into neutral spine. So on the exhale, maybe the elbows bend, release forwards. On the inhale, the elbows straighten and release up. Now, something else you could think about here as you lower on the exhale is your tailbone. Can you stretch your tailbone back and down as you bob down, and then on the in-breath, the tailbone stretches kind of more diagonally towards the back of your mat, the top edge of your mat. You might like to walk your hands a little further. It's almost like the tailbone scoops under and down as you exhale, and then extends back and away as you inhale. And just encouraging these little, almost micro movements, bobbing up and down with your breath. Just go with that rhythm. Ease your way into this really, really gently. Rounding, lengthening, and at a certain point then allow yourself to fold with an exhale, round in a little further. Your knee can be as bent as it needs to be. You could also have a folded blanket or rolled blanket underneath that knee, especially if you're hypermobile. And then when you're ready, unfurl yourself back to your starting point, bobbing all the way up. Exhale, send your other leg out, just take a moment there. And then guide in your opposite foot, sliding that in underneath your straight leg. Hands come out in front of you. So this side is going to feel different, it does for me. We want to find that halfway position. So a little more active here, but I'm just going to allow that knee to soften, my foot to soften, so that I can be in a half forward fold. This posture is Janu Shirshasana, by the way, which is an asymmetrical head to knee pose, it's called. So then we're just focusing on the bobbing of the breath. So what happens as I exhale, I release down. And then on the inhale, I just bob up a little. That's naturally happening. I'm not really doing anything mechanical other than the position that I'm in. I'm just following that bobbing up and down. It's quite meditative. And try this with your eyes closed as well. It gives you a different experience, perspective, takes you into yourself, less distracted by external stimulus. Okay, so then exhale and go into the bobbing of the falling breath, and then inhale and lift up, rise gently. Exhale, folding in on yourself, rounding in on yourself. Inhale, lifting up. Connecting this to your tailbone. On the exhale, round into the tailbone like it's tucking underneath you. And then your navel comes in, and then on the inhale, the tailbone extends away from you, rippling along your spine to the crown of your head. Keep your chin drawn in. Try not to look up. Keep the chin drawn in. And then exhale to release. Walk your hands forwards if that's available for you. Lifting up, rising on the in-breath, bobbing up and down. Ride the bobbing breath. Up and down. And then at a certain point, releasing into that exhale. Tailbone tucking under a little more, rounding in. And then when you're ready, exhale, come up. And stretch your left leg out in front of you. And just take a few moments there to notice how you feel. Okay. Hands together at the center of your chest. I hope you enjoyed that little inquiry into seated forward bend. Please do leave your comments for me, and if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe. All right, take care.